And if you want to see this whole maddening system in one story, consider the case of Melissa Lucio.
Melissa Lucio insists she was wrongfully convicted of killing her 2-year-old daughter Mariah after a tragic accident 15 years ago.
Free Melissa Lucio! I don't want my mom to be executed.
Hello, and welcome to Criminality, a true crime podcast. Today, we will be taking a look at the case of Melissa Lucio. Melissa was born on July 18, 1968 in Lubbock, Texas. Melissa had a rough upbringing. Her father died when she was an infant, and later, when she was around 3 or 4, her family moved to the Rio Grande Valley. Melissa says that she was sexually abused by her mom's boyfriend for about 2 years from the time she was 7. Her mom, Esperanza, recalls Melissa telling her what had happened, but not believing her, more than likely because she did not want to deal with the reality of the situation. Probably because of her situation at home, Melissa got married at the age of 16 and had 5 children with her first husband, who physically abused her and sold drugs. Not long after she gave birth to their 5th child, the husband abandoned the family. Melissa met someone new and ended up having 9 children with him, including Mariah, though he was hardly better than her ex-husband, as he too was physically abusive and repeatedly took advantage of her. Mariah was born on September 2004 and was Melissa's 12th child. Child Protective Services had previously investigated Melissa for allegations of child neglect, amassing thousands of pages of observation in their records, and they noted that Lucio's youngest children were often left in the care of their teenage siblings. They also noted that Melissa was addicted to cocaine, and she tested positive shortly after Mariah was born. One of her siblings recalls in the documentary that she would lock herself up in the restroom for hours after she had used to spare her children from seeing her high. It was to this kind of home that 911 was called to on February 17, 2007, because 2-year-old Mariah was unresponsive and not breathing. Mariah was found with signs of abuse on her body. She reportedly had scattered bruising, bite marks on her back, patches of hair that had been pulled out, and a broken arm. First responders noted that Melissa seemed detached from the situation and did not seem overly alarmed about Mariah's condition. Mariah was pronounced dead upon arrival at a local hospital. It was later determined that Mariah's arm had been broken 2 to 7 weeks before her death, and an autopsy also showed a head injury and bruising in the kidneys, lungs, and spinal cord. According to Melissa, 2 days earlier, Mariah had fallen down a set of stairs, leading to her injuries. Following Mariah's death, Melissa was arrested and questioned for 7 hours by Texas Ranger Victor Escalon without a lawyer present and without receiving food or water. Melissa admitted to having spanked Mariah.
Lay her down and show me how you would spank her. But was it one time or was it several times?
Several times.
Show me how. But show me the same force you would use. With your right or left hand?
Right hand.
Would you be standing up or sitting down?
Both.
How would you do it when you're sitting down? Show me how you would do it. But, I mean, the way you actually did it. Just get it over with.
I would just spank her real hard on her back.
Well, do it real hard like you would do it. But the way you would do it.
That's the way I would do it. I mean, I wouldn't pound on her.
But denied ever having abused her, a statement she repeated more than 100 times during the interview. After several hours of interrogation, Melissa stated, "I guess I did it. I'm responsible." At trial, this statement was used as a confession by the prosecution. Furthermore, a pathologist, Dr. Norma J. Farley, testified that the child's autopsy revealed she did not die from falling downstairs, and instead her injuries were consistent with the death from blunt force trauma. Additionally, the emergency room physician said he had not seen a case of child abuse worse than Mariah's. Despite Melissa's defense's argument that Mariah's injuries were from falling down the stairs, Lucio was found guilty of capital murder and later sentenced to death in 2008. After exhausting her appeals, Cameron County officials signed an execution warrant for Melissa. She was scheduled for execution on April 27, 2022. Luckily for Melissa, her family never gave up on trying to free her, and in 2020, a documentary titled The State of Texas vs. Melissa came out, which helped her make her case more visible and brought a wave of support to Melissa's side. Here are some things to consider which might lean to Melissa's innocence. One of the main things that the Innocence Project, an organization currently helping Melissa with her case, tries to underline is research that shows that survivors of sexual abuse and violence, like Melissa, are even more vulnerable to falsely confessing under such coercive conditions. Here's the thing though, we do not even have to go so far as to say that Melissa is more vulnerable to false confessions due to her history. To me, it's clear that even people without her history will be susceptible to false confessions due to the nature of the interrogation. Melissa had no lawyer present, so the detectives had free rein to berate, intimidate, and accuse Melissa for 7 hours straight without a single break for food or water. It is pretty clear to me, as it was for Melissa, that the detectives had made their mind up that she was the killer, and the only thing that would get her out of that room would be for her to tell them what they wanted to hear. I mean, even from the video I provided of her spanking the doll, it is pretty clear that Melissa spanks the doll hardest at the behest of the officer. She is clearly giving them what they want. To add insult to injury, 2 of the officers who interrogated Melissa were present at Mariah's autopsy, possibly leading to a biased autopsy process. Another thing to note is that despite years of CPS visits and thousands of pages on Melissa and her family, none of Melissa's 12 children ever said that she was violent with them, and no caseworkers noted signs of abuse. No physical evidence showed otherwise. Even as adults, none of her children interviewed for the documentary say that they ever recall her being physically abusive to them. Finally, and probably most shocking of all, is the fact that Norma Villanueva, who was a litigation specialist brought on by the defense, said that she had spoken to Alexandra, one of Melissa's older children, and that she had admitted to being the one to push Mariah down the stairs because she had been angry with Mariah that day. Norma later recalled in an affidavit that she had informed Mr. Gilman, Melissa's defense lawyer, of the information that she had learned, and that Mr. Gilman had instructed her not to give that information to anyone else, and Alexandra nor any of the other children were ever called to testify on court. I do not know if Mr. Gilman quote-unquote sabotaged her case like he was accused of in the documentary, but I do think he did not explore every possible avenue to her exoneration. And so, on April 25th, 2022, just 2 days before her scheduled execution, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals issued a stay of execution and ordered the 138th Judicial District Court of Cameron County to consider new evidence of Lucio's innocence in the death of her daughter.
Hello?
Melissa.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jeff Leach.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. Have you heard the news?
No, what?
You haven't heard the news yet?
No, what happened?
The Court of Criminal Appeals issued a stay of your execution for Wednesday.
Are you serious? Are you serious? When did this happen?
We just got word about 15 minutes ago.
Oh my God! That is wonderful! Oh my God! What does that mean?
It means that things are still as uncertain as they were before, but at least now we have more time to unravel what really happened that day. From my vantage point, I do think Melissa was a bad, neglectful mother, But I don't know if that necessarily makes her a killer. While I am glad that she got a stay of execution, I ultimately don't know whether I lean towards her guilt or her innocence. What do you think about the case? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe.